Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs and professionals that help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners and entrepreneurs, come out the other side, more experience, more skills, more knowledge that they're willing to share with us to help us run a more successful business. So, thank you, John. I appreciate your time. I wanted to say that up front that anybody that shares the time with us and our audience teaches us something, teaches our audience something that means a lot to us. So thank you for your time today. I appreciate you being here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
My name's John Hall. I've been in construction for plus or minus 10 to 15 years, off and on, last 9 years straight, working for as a general contractor. Decided to take the leap and start my own business in February of this year. We've done some really cool projects already to date, which is awesome. So the business name is Flow Builders. Um, we're just starting, but we definitely have some really cool high-end work already that we've accomplished, which is awesome.
Sure. And tell me, so you're approaching that 6 months into business, right? How would you sum up these first 6 months?
Mayhem. Um, it's nonstop chaos with trying to get the business organized while also making sure that the current workload for employees and everything else is at least organized for them and everyone's getting paid. I think that's at least my perception is as long as everyone is getting paid vendor wise, employee wise, everything else will align pretty easily. But just making sure that everything stay organized, I think, is definitely the hardest part. I took a different approach where I quit an employer and then I started within 2 weeks, a really fast pace business. And so I've just been trying to keep up, is what I've been trying to do.
Tell me a little bit about your background and kind of how what was the inspiration to decide, okay, I'm going to go out on my own and do this myself.
I was working for a decently sized general contracting company, working on some really awesome projects. I specialized in hospitality, so I've done 500, just under 500 room renovations for hotels. I've done private schools, Class A offices, restaurants. Got to be part of some really cool projects. And what I started to see in my own personal career was there was a certain plateau that I was going to hit, that no matter what I was going to do, there wasn't really too much more that I could do to get either the extra income I wanted or extra responsibility that I was looking for. And so what I also was seeing was we were working on some really big projects, and I saw a niche for the smaller guys to do those projects that we weren't actually saying yes to anymore. And I was like, okay, well, you can still make decent money. You can still be very active if you take on these smaller projects that the bigger companies just don't have the time nor the capacity for. So I decided to take that leap and say, cool, let us help you service these special projects, and then we can be in there for that as well.
So what's that? Is it like a dollar amount? Is it what is the threshold that the larger contractors are going to say yes to that maybe gets underserved in the market?
It really depends on each contractor, for the record. So, like,
Sure.
what I was seeing was projects that weren't being looked at were 300,000 to $5 million. There was really it just really depends on the how the GC is set up, right? So you have big guys out there in the market who do $100 million projects. Well, those take years to do. They have the manpower, they have the office set up, and they really can't do at a profit level to do a $500,000 renovation of
Right.
someone's office or anything like that. Where if you have a smaller guy who, less overhead, fewer employees, still has at least the technology and capability, there's still money to be made in that
Sure.
realm. And that's where I was seeing. So what we're specializing is like we've put pricing together now for $150,000 projects all the way up to just over 10 million. And so that's what we're trying to be in that realm for of projects that take maybe a little bit longer in time where some GCs might look at it and say, well, we want to be done in 6 months. And the owner's like, well, we have to do this in phases. So it's really going to take 12 months. And so if you have lower overhead, you're able to service that in multiple phases.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And so as you're kind of defining this need in the market, right, which kind of outlines like kind of where your company lives in the space, and you talked a little bit about like the ability to grow, the ability to manage more responsibility and make more money. Like what's kind of that, the understanding of growth for you? Is it still continuing to try and quote more of these types of products against other competitive builders? Like what's kind of that scaling motion for you that you're looking for in the next year, 2 years, 5 years?
So right now we have, I think I did the count. I think we have 7 employees total. It's maybe 6 employees, and they're all like part-time, full-time, mix between hourly and everything. Um, and so what my goal is for the business in the next 2 years, at least in 1 year, is to double our employee staff, to be able to have at least enough work going on to have 3 full-time superintendents, and then a couple office staff members to be able to service each project. That would be the main goal. I'm not trying personally to be the next billion-dollar company. It's not really what I'm striving to do. Also, when you get to that realm, you just now eliminate my business, of
Right.
only doing those type of sizes. So I really wanted to help other businesses with these special type projects where we can stay small but mighty, and then be able to accomplish these really cool projects that are out there. But yeah, that would be the goal. I mean, there's a certain dollar value. I would say, 10, 20 million in revenue a year would be amazing. But I also don't want to look at it strictly with revenue base. I would love to look at it as a project base. So we're trying to specialize in only connecting with 3 developers. That's my goal. I really don't want to be anything more than that because I don't want to not be able to service people. So we've already teamed up with 2. We're looking for a third developer to where if they have, a renovation project or even a ground up project that they're looking to, maybe find someone a little bit smaller, local or anything like that. That's what we're teaming with. Um, but yeah, I mean uh that's probably the best way I can describe it for this business.
Sure. No, it makes a lot of sense. And beyond finding that area in your industry that was kind of underserved, what would you say is something that your company does? Like, what's your superpower? What's that thing that you guys do very well that's atypical to the rest of your industry?
Um, I think relationships are definitely some of the hardest things to continue to have. So I'm gonna go old school, but in my Rolodex, for example, but in my phone, I've got over 1,800 contacts, and that just means of that could be developers, it could be other subcontractors from earthwork to waterproofing to concrete to whatever the trade is needed, millwork, all that kind of stuff. Um, we really strive hard to be that company where if an owner needs something, if it's as high end as a 5-star hotel, or it could be someone's custom house, or it could be, not even a Class A office, but just an office in general. We have different subs that we have relationships with that we know who is right for each project. And that's really what we strive for is we because I came from a decent size other company, I come with the organization, so we still use the same type of technology. We still use the same type of invoicing. We still use the same type of billing. It's just now what we're doing is we're making sure that these either smaller subs or the same type of subs that just have these projects, or these personnel that can do specific projects, we know who to contact. And I think that's one of the hardest things for an owner who is doing a development project. They're overwhelmed because they're just looking on Yelp or on, Google and just trying to find
Right.
who's the best in this market. And some of these people don't even have websites.
Right.
You just kind of have to know what their Google email address is to be able to contact them. And um, being in construction for 10 years in San Diego specifically, and I've been in Arizona, I've been in Las Vegas and Northern California. I've built a really good relationship with each market that I've worked in.
Yeah, for sure. And that's added value to your client as well because, like, if there's things that you don't do and the homeowner has to go and seek, the person that's managing that office or utilizing that office space or whatever's happening with that renovation, they have to go and lean on either existing contacts of their own, or they have to go and find and build those relationships with people. And we all have like our own contractor horror stories, right? Like
Yes.
being able to vet out a lot of that headache for people before they make that decision of where they're going to spend their money or with whom they're going to spend their money, super valuable. um, but it takes a lot of legwork. You know what I mean? It's hard to fabricate those relationships. You really have to do business with people and get to know them over a long period of time to trust them with that relationship that you're forming with your own client. So it is super, super valuable. In contrast to that, what have been like kind of the biggest obstacles, right? So like you're kind of 6 months in now, and I'd imagine that organizationally, there's some learning curve to trying to get everything organized and figure out exactly how to kind of format this process of everything that you're going through. But you tell me, don't let me put the words in your mouth, but tell me kind of what's been some of the obstacles. What should people look out for if they're trying to get into a similar industry in a similar space as you?
Yeah, I mean, it might not just be my industry in general, but I would just say if you are gonna, I would say service is what I am in, like a service-based company.
Sure.
Um, I would say making sure that you have the resources or at least the standard operating procedures in place to be able to pay employees. Like if you aren't able to pay employees legally, where
Yeah.
they're taking taxes out and everything of that sort, it really is, I think, really challenging. And also, if you can't track those employees and where they're being tracked to, so like I had 4 projects in the last 6 months. If I wasn't able to say, okay, this person is here for, 4 weeks, this person's here for one, I wouldn't know where I was at financially for each project, if one made money, if one lost money, or anything of
Sure.
that sort. I think just keeping track of all of the legalities is definitely the one of the hardest things. But what I've learned is I don't actually personally have to be the master of every single thing. I
Right.
hire a lot of staff. I hire a bookkeeper, I hire an accountant, I hire a lawyer, I hire employees, and then I hire subcontractors. My goal is just to bring the whole package together so that the project or the business is successful. And so, when I hired my accounting person, we got on an accounting software immediately. We started doing bookkeeping, and then she even gave me a website to use for employees. And that website is awesome. It does employees PTO, it does their taxes. We'll start 401(k) in February of next year. So it's really cool to be able to give those incentives that the bigger companies are able to
Sure.
provide. um but you're not having to be the master of every single thing. Like I'm not an HR person,
Hmm.
probably far from it, unfortunately. um I try to be the most professional person possible, but there's certain people out there that are way better than I am, and I know who those people are, at least that I've had good relationships with. And that's what's really helped me out with my business, is not just knowing like general contracting wise of like who do I have to contact for millwork or flooring or carpet or tile, but who do I contact when I have a contract question?
Right.
Like my wife started her own business a couple of years ago. We learned a lot when it comes to like contract laws and everything of that sort, and I was really good at that. But now when you're dealing with $2 million contracts, you want to make sure that even what you're reviewing is going to set you up for success. And so it's making sure not just my people that I know how to actually do physical work with, but actually like business now, making sure I'm actually setting up my business with the proper people to set me up for success because they want to see me successful.
Right. Yeah, and that networking, that was literally what I was about to say, is that networking aspect is valuable for even more than yourself, like for your clients, right? Like having a good process in business is good for everyone, top to bottom, right? Because it allows your salespeople and people that are managing projects for you to be able to set expectations accurately, which makes people makes your company be more represented accurately, right? It ends up saving you money in the long run. Like so, like I'll say this is that there's a time and a place in business when you start out early for managing um, your pocketbook as tightly as possible, right? Is hoarding cash and trying to increase cash flow, that you can do things that are literally the jugular of your business, which is pay your employees on time and take care of people, right? But once you get to that point, it usually doesn't pay off in the long run to be that business owner that's like, I'm going to scale to the maximum of my capabilities without outsourcing a lot of these responsibilities that really aren't my forte, right? Like, if you're outsourcing HR, if you're outsourcing billing, bookkeeping, any of these auxiliary services, usually the more time that you can spend doing that thing that generates you revenue is a better use of your time than all of the time you spending wading through all the minutia of stuff that you really don't know a whole lot about, right? So yes, there is a time to be as frugal as possible, but even more importantly, there is a time to let go of a lot of those responsibilities so that your business can kind of take the shape it needs to grow, right? And I think that's a hard thing to when you start out in business, to be able to see far enough away to understand that concept, right?
Yep.
But we're listening to this podcast, and we are here talking to you, the person that is listening to this podcast, because we believe that you can do it. I've said it a bunch of times on this podcast that um, the people that we talk to in the business world are normal people. They go through normal stuff and they deal with normal things in life and their normal challenges. And realistically, the thing that makes a good business owner separate from a bad business owner is the ability to do things you're uncomfortable with. Find ways to uh, relinquish those responsibilities so you can do the things that you do very well and deal with those things head on and get them off your plate, right? So there's going to be a lot of added benefit in the long run for those people that think that way and begin that way early on. But tell me this as well, like if someone's listening to the podcast now and they want to be a client of yours, they have a question, they maybe want to buy something from you, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find your company?
So we have our website. It just went live in July 1st. So very exciting. Website is Flow Builders Inc. plural, builders plural inc.com. There's a page there that you can say, I've got a inquiry about a project or anything of that sort. Um, they could also call me on my cell phone, 760-525-4087. It rings all day long. It's rang while we're here.
Yeah, sure.
And so we truly, and in that website, it shows you what active projects we have going on, what projects are upcoming or even in construction. So that way you can see also, like, I think in any business, there's also relationships that have to be built. So if you don't connect with somebody, I've told clients before we started a project where we didn't, or once we are about to sign the contract, we're going to be married for 6 months. And I want to make sure you and I work well together. It's not just, I want your project because it's going to bring revenue to my business. There's projects that we've already declined to date, where it wasn't a good fit for us, and it was good for the revenue, but it wasn't the best where it was set up in a way that we were going to be able to perform, the best way possible. And so we do vet both our personalities with the client and also the project, to making sure that if whoever reaches out to me or my team, um, we give you the best resources possible. And there's other people that we would love to get connected with as well.
Sure. And kind of the way that we always in the podcast, right, is similar to how we started, but the title of the podcast is Burn the Ship, right? And I think every entrepreneur has this light switch moment where they decide, okay, I'm going to go all in on this business. I'm going to make it happen. Whatever the things that I have to deal with along the way, I'm going to figure those things out. And I'm committed to this idea of being an entrepreneur. And he told us a little bit about what made you, um, how you kind of identified that need in your industry, that okay, I can live here and I can do very well as far as my business goes, right? But from a an emotional standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a life experiences standpoint, how would you sum up this whole experience of burning the ship and going all in on your business? And why should the people that are listening that want that same experience kind of take that bet on themselves and decide for themselves that this is something that they're capable of.
I think the thing that made me open my eyes was I was doing a lot of work and I wasn't getting anything beneficial monetary wise for doing more or less work. And I also was complaining about my current role that I was in, and I wasn't doing anything about it. And so my thing is, I hate complaining to my wife every single week about the same position I'm in or to my
Right.
friends. And so I've tried starting three other businesses before this. They were more on the smaller scale where I wasn't going to go all in. But when I got this many years of experience, I could have started this business 3 years ago if I really wanted to. But I wanted to make sure that when I started this type of business, that I was going to be able to service clients in a way that it was going to be as successful as the bigger people. So my eyes were driven to where I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel, where it was, I can actually do this. I'm set up. We went all in as a family where I cashed my 401k and I was like, cool, guess what? We're gonna live on this for the next 6 months. And that's what we've been doing. But it was an all-in for sure discussion with my wife, with my friends and family of this is the route that I want to take. And I wanted to leave on good terms with everybody that I was associated with and everything, because it's a small industry no matter what you go into. If it's t-shirt designs, if it's contracting, if it's anything else out there, you start realizing how small a market is and who is actually playing that part. And so I didn't want to truly like burn any bridges, but I definitely had to, jump ship when it comes to like focusing on myself. And that was the probably the biggest leap that I did was like, okay, I'm gonna get my license. I'm gonna, test the waters to see where everything's at. And then I saw an opportunity, and that opportunity was truly given to me. And I was like, this is either gonna make or break the business. It was for a five-star hotel. It's in Del Mar, and we did their lobby and clubhouse and I had the opportunity to do that. And we did a phenomenal job. The team crushed it. We finished within 3 days that we were supposed to, right within budget. And so it was amazing to watch that happen where I took that leap on myself. And within 4 months of that project starting, we proved that the owner made the right decision on me and our team.
Sure. Yeah. No. And I'll be honest, like what listening to these stories from a podcast host perspective, and from someone that's in the payments world that spends a lot of time looking at businesses, um, from a volume perspective, right? Like it's exciting to me, to see where your business is going, right? To be able to compete in, uh, a wider subset of potential bids in the future, because I know that you're someone that cares about the final result of the way that you treat your customers, right? And I say it again and again and again on the podcast, but if you work really hard and you treat your customers the right way, business is a tool for you to make your life shaped however you want, which is a really 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 cool thing about being an entrepreneur. But that's literally contingent on your desire to work hard, and your desire to take care of your customers. So I look forward to seeing where your business goes, because I know that right now in your journey you're fitting both of those criteria. So if there's anything that I can do for you, if there's any connections that you need, especially out here on the East Coast, I'm in Atlanta, so I know a ton of people in similar spaces. I even know some people out in your area, but if there are connections that I have that are valuable to you, please let me know. I'd love to connect you with those people. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast. If you have anything to leave the audience with, please. This is your platform to leave the people with whatever you want. But those are the questions that I have, and I would encourage the audience to burn the ship. We really do work hard to connect the audience with a lot of people that have been through some of the experiences that you have to go through in order to run a business successfully, and we're trying to help you guys shorten that learning curve, right? So check out some of the other videos. Please like and subscribe, share the video with anyone that you're connected to that is also interested in the business world. And like I said, if you have anything to leave the people with, please, your insight is always appreciated.
No, I just appreciate the invitation and the time and everything. And I mean, for anyone who is thinking about, starting their own business or even in the process of doing it, I would say, be a master of whatever you want to do. If you want to start your own clothing company, learn what thread count is supposed to be, GSMs, or any type of other requirement is needed. If you are the master, where you are the person where people come for the resources, you are only going to be successful. It will take time, but I mean, that's what I have learned, at least personally, is if you're the person who knows what it takes, like I know code, I know how to build a building or anything of that sort. That's what clients come for me for, and I try and give them as much resources as possible. And that's what I would say to whoever's trying to start a business is truly understand and be that professional for being people who come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need help, please allow us to help you in whatever way that we can. So, all right, burn the ship. Until next time.
Thank you.